So we're looking at Unit 4 is the next unit that we're going to, which is operations with integers. Do you have the electronic base day?
Yeah, I'll pull up the IFD real quick. There's
Okay.
the. Unit 4.
I'm going to do the same thing. Do you have your IFDs pulled up?
Get there right there. We'll have a good IFD.
Oh, yeah. That was so sweet.
Christina, do you remember how to put in the IFD?
Did I have it for you? Did you see it?
I'm looking. Is that right there? Okay. I'm out.
So good. Your computer wants to go to 4.
Austin, you're good. If something goobers up or you need something, 333.
Just go and see what else. Sixth grade. Sorry, these are my
No, except for on the
Math grade
issue.
says the definite.
No, Unit 4.
Oh, it's on.
Because we're doing for, we already did the next unit, so the next.
No, we've already done it too.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
One click IFD. And then double click that top. And then up right there. So. So this is kind of new for them, operations with integers, negative numbers. I think the advanced kids talked about it at the end of last year, but I don't know if they really got into it with regs. In 5th grade, did y'all talk about negative numbers with your regular
I
kids?
did towards the end, yes.
Towards the end, so
With all my kids. So they should have had at least an introduction. Do they introduce it?
I'm not 100% sure without
They-
the grader.
I
For the most part, it's kind of new.
Carlisle said in regs they did
They did.
a little
But not-
tiny bit, but in advanced they did.
But it just says during this unit, they examine relationships, identifying a number, its opposite, its absolute value. They've worked with number lines before, but now we're going to put negative numbers on a number line, which goes with absolute value, the distance from 0. The distance is always positive, which is hard for them to comprehend. I don't know why, but it's like, can you go a negative distance?
It's like the opposite of what they're always
Exactly.
thinking.
What else is there?
So negative whole numbers, that's a new concept.
Which is a subset of the integers. Because we're going to talk about the sets and subsets in Unit 2, so they'll have a little bit of a background knowledge.
One thing I do like is now this year with Unit 2 kind of leads into Unit 4 a little bit with integers. That we're going to talk about in this next unit, and then we're going to actually start.
Well, that's, well, I kind of like the opposite. I like Unit 4 leads into Unit 2 because that was the common problem my kids had with Unit 2 was they saw negative, they automatically assumed they thought it was integer. So if we drive home working with integers, that they're all positive, or sorry, positive and negative whole numbers, or whole numbers and their opposites. Hopefully they won't fall in that trap.
Concrete models, did we say that?
Yeah, it said the
That's
models
big, yeah.
are key for the foundation of
And we'll teach you how to
understanding.
do all that. So don't stress. There's number lines, there's integer chips.
That's the main two.
Does it make
Yeah.
sense?
Like, is there any others?
I don't think there's.
No, I think that was it. Well, they got like the balance, kind of like the balance one.
Oh, yeah.
With the pluses and minuses.
Okay.
Integer chips, number lines, and then we always teach them the actual algorithm. I was trying to think of the word. I was about to say algebraic.
Get it?
Algorithm, or the rule. The thought process. Hopefully the concrete models will get them to the rule, but
Sometimes
sometimes it just does not happen.
No, it doesn't.
Sometimes it makes them go the other way.
But yeah, so add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers fluently.
Those rules are just killer. I've been working on them all year long, especially adding and subtracting.
Because they mix all the rules together.
Yeah.
And there's a rap video that I played. That they hate it.
Every time
but
they
you
did-
know what?
yeah.
They remember it.
Every time they asked a question, I would have my whole class sing the song. They're like, okay, class, let's sing.
That's all right. Be aside to put the bass into that one.
Oh, yeah. Got the beats going.
Or the beats. I'm sorry, not the bass, the beats, sorry.
All right.
All right. Is there anything else for the big picture? Did we miss
I
anything?
think that's it.
I think there's only 3 TEKs for this unit. So 6.2B, 6.3C, and 6.3D. The only readiness
I've got them pulled up.
is 6.3D.
62B is identify a number, its opposites, and its absolute value.
So I did.
What was the second one?
6.3C.
63C. Represent integer operations with concrete models and connect the actions with the models to algorithms as the 2 supporting. And then 63D is add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers fluently.
What was 6.3C?
It was
Represent on a concrete model, something like that. Represent was a.
integer operations with concrete models.
Integer operations.
Sorry, my hand's taking up the whole
You're
screen.
so much faster than
I do short.
me.
There you go.
Oh, it's right there. I was.
Identify numbers.
Opposite, okay.
Oh. Ooh. Oh, great.
My goodness, man. I do that. Right.
Alright, so it looks like 6.3D last year, altogether we scored at 87%. I believe this is star data, right? We put it in.
Yeah, and the CAs are the second column. These are star, and these are common assessments.
Okay. I think you printed them off without the CA. Because I took these from your desk. It's okay.
I do like to say that. I like that readiness. 80% regular.
I know, I was looking at that, I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we did good.
6.3D, I know, 87%.
Do that keep change opposite, make it higher.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Or we did keep change, and did just fine, 80%. But you know what, I did teach reciprocal, and the kids get it, so
Yeah.
I'm not against it.
It's just, a lot of them fought because they were brought, they still want to say keep change flip. And it's like, you can
Mine
use keep
still
change
say-
flip,
Mine
just
still
make
say-
sure when you flip
mine
it,
still say keep
what's the
change.
flip called? And,
Right.
You know, they don't like
Yeah.
saying, that's like,
Right, right. Mine are doing that too.
I got us off task. But yeah, 80% reg for 6.3D and 95% springboard 6.3D.
so
That's crazy.
we're doing it
And
right.
the question that was tested over that was what are ops too, with negatives
Was it?
on.
And this is a tougher
Plus nine.
concept for them. So the fact that we did that good
Mhm.
means we can all.
Well, I know that this and the equations we really drove home last year. I remember those were the 2 focal points.
Even our supporting, or I mean, they're in the 60s, but it's still kind of high. 6.3C was 69% for reg and 87% for springboard. And then 6.2B, 64% and 83%.
But, you
I
know, they
wonder
go
how-
back to absolute value, they forget.
Do what?
They forget absolute value.
Yeah.
That's something we probably need
The
to
red
sprinkle
line,
in every so often more.
That's
Yeah, because it
yeah,
was
that's
order of
absolute
operation.
I know, why is it red and then black?
Because that's
Readiness?
readiness.
Readiness.
Let me see. 6.2B. See, at 6.2B, maybe this might be unit test too, because 6.2B wasn't tested,
Mhm.
unless it was 2018.
Same with C. I don't think that was tested either.
6.3C.
Was it?
I've got 2015 and 2014.
Or yeah, I mean just last year.
There's
that wasn't
6.2Cs.
tested.
6.2Cs on the back of that one. Well, that's,
But that's not this unit.
no, it's not.
6.2B and unit 4.
So the only one last year was that one
Yep,
question.
there we go, oh gosh.
Here, I can pull up last year's test.
So we have it right here. That.
6.3D. No, we only have 6.3D, 6.2B is not tested.
Which one's the only one?
This one
It's
is.
right here.
No, this one.
Oh,
I mean that's a good. Okay, yeah.
That was good.
Because yeah, that could have been.
80% of the grades. That's good.
Yeah. Because that's a
Now that
lot
I'm seeing
of.
what kind of problem it is, that's good. Like,
that's
it
a lot
wasn't
of
just an
solving.
easy integer problem, like they had to go through and solve each one.
Yeah.
Which one? 6.3D? Oh, yeah.
No, 25, yeah.
So that's the readiness team that was tested 2017.
So they really have to go through and work it out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that
As
is.
long as you don't Baymax it, I'm all right.
So I know we just talked about front loading earlier, but this might be a good unit to start practicing order of ops.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I remember,
I remember last year when we did integers, we even spent a day on order box with integers. I remember
We did,
whenever
we
we did
spent a whole
this on
day.
that.
And this is a good unit too, to bring back in 6.3E
Mhm.
and now add negatives with it. So there's still multiplying, dividing, that's towards the end. I wouldn't start off with that, but towards the end, start bringing back multiplying, dividing fractions, but now with negatives, because they're still using the rules. It's a big step, but
But don't feel like you have to.
yeah, you don't have to. But
Yeah,
it's a,
no,
it's a
I'm
good.
listening.
Here's,
I was trying to read your face, sorry.
No. I honestly, I wasn't thinking.
that's the
anything.
common nomenclature. You don't
This
have
was
to.
the,
You don't have to. No, I would follow.
Oh, that's
This
not-
was the only
Obviously, it
time
works.
6.3D
Oh,
was tested
yes.
last year.
That's right.
This was
That
6.3D?
last year.
Yep. That was the
year
only,
before it came
that was the
from
only
the
time
board.
it was tested.
So,
See, and that's not that bad either.
Yeah.
No.
are you talking about what this is order of operations? Is that 6.3D?
Well, I mean, it's still kind of order of ops, but this was how it was tested
Very,
last
very
year.
easy.
Yeah.
Order ops, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where there were
So
some-
that's what you're saying is bring that in, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Bring that in.
That's like a perfect.
So instead of just doing like 5 times -6 all the time, you start adding some,
Okay,
more towards the end, yeah.
okay, okay. So add the order of ops in towards the,
Yeah, and
towards the end.
we spent a day on it. So.
Was there supporting on it? The 2018 one?
3C and 2B.
So when we go to do our calendar,
2G
are we
is
gonna
number
put a
three.
date
2B,
down for
yeah,
that?
2B.
Or do I just
I
need to
don't
try
think
to
3C
remember?
was tested.
It was 24.
Okay, okay.
Here's, oh, yeah, I remember.
Oh.
The opposite, yeah.
We've given them so many problems like that.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. That's like motivation math type of
It
question.
is very.
Yeah, the absolute value is what's killing them.
and
We need to,
then,
like I said, we teach it, but we need to spiral that in more often.
24 was the models,
One more, there you go.
which this one's pretty easy
I'm gonna
too.
make this up.
Uh-huh.
But you notice every time it's been tested, it's been on the number line.
Yes. For the
Magic
past,
chips.
yeah.
A couple of years. So it's not been the chips. And number lines to me are harder to explain than the chips.
The chips are easier. Yeah.
Well,
Oh, I like.
one thing that my kids,
And you know what? It's multiplying.
yeah. The one thing, and speaking of that, when you're doing this, what my kids saw with the number lines, now as my springboard, of course, they said, well, you know when it's add and subtract when you're multiplying and dividing, because add and subtract lines are straight. When multiplying or dividing, they're going in jumps.
Interesting.
That's a good observation. I never would have clicked. in
Me
my
neither.
Say
brain.
that one more time.
Huh?
Say that one more time.
Well, if you notice, remember, it starts at 0 and it goes straight line.
Mhm.
So my kids are sitting there saying, when they're straight, that's add and subtract. When they're jumping, it's multiply and divide.
Oh, I would remember.
I know, that's
Wait,
cool.
what?
That's why I had to say it
Because I see
again.
the.
Here, I can show y'all on here.
Like the
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because when we teach add and
Do you want
subtract.
me to show it on the board?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
can
pull
show-
up-
I can do it.
I'm gonna pull up all
The number
the,
line is like
Because
this.
those are hopping on here.
Like start here and then your number line goes like that, so it's a straight line. Straight to away.
Jump, so it's,
Those are both
when it's
multiplying,
jumping, they're
those are
multiplying
jumping.
and dividing. When
Yeah.
it's straight, they're adding or subtracting.
so
Right?
those two are multiplying because it's hops.
You want me to
And you
put
know
them
that's
on
funny
board?
because we always say multiplying,
Do it.
which we can talk about that when we
What?
start teaching it, but, or
Well,
start getting
multiplying
into
does
the
it.
instructional.
Yeah,
stuff.
multiplying, okay, yeah.
No, it's good. Write it down so we remember for our race day.
Yeah, make a post-it.
I got my finger journal right now.
So that order of ops.
How about
Thank you for
concrete
writing
models?
that.
So based off of this data, what do we want to be our high leverage learning target? Do we want to keep it 6-3D?
Mhm.
I would say so.
I know we don't normally do supporting, but there could be an argument for 6-3C.
And I
Because
was,
it's
I was
so-
gonna say the argument could be for 6-2B.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Well, I was gonna say
'Cause that
with-
was our lowest.
even within those, like if you look at how it's tested, you could almost still do 6-3D with each of them. Like for the hopping, you could have them solve A, B, C, and D, and then connect it with all of the supporting. So that's just, I would say still 6-3D
You
because of
get
that.
each one into everything.
Yeah.
I like how you see that.
So thumbs up for at least one high leverage learning target, 6-3D.
I agree with that.
Or what do you think?
I think this sounds good. Sounds
He's
good to
saying,
me.
so this one to be one of our
Sounds
big.
good.
Because we focused on it intentionally, and look how we did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure out what a high level, what.
So it's like, it's like our big teak we're gonna focus on. for
But that's
unit.
that's the big one that they need to know, okay.
So this is
Okay.
need to know, the two supporting, we're gonna teach it, so it's nice to know, but we're not gonna
Got it.
spend as much time on
So
those two.
6.3D, that's like the big guy.
The big one, the one that we need them to understand by the end of the
So like when we
year.
give our
Okay.
commons and all that, we're making sure.
Now, are the other two supporting?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay. Y'all are way better on this whole, I didn't focus on.
So we're
Well, it's
focusing on
just-
6-3D.
Careers y'all have.
No, the one reason we pick a high leverage learning target is because it's so hard to teach everything
You're right.
100%, and there's
You're
no
right.
time in a year.
You're exactly right.
So we have to pick the one that
Okay.
we think is.
No,
the
and that's
biggest
what makes total
bang for our
sense,
buck.
yeah, that makes total sense. That we did the same thing, we just called it different things.
Oh, what'd y'all call it?
I don't even remember, but I remember we would just look at, like, okay, what is mostly tested?
So we-
and what is, we would look at data, and sort of, but we never used the
I like
word,
what-
the term high leverage.
We call it
whatever.
Big Rock.
So,
This is our Big
I'm sorry,
Rock.
the
Big Rock.
terminology,
Yeah.
gotcha,
So when we say
okay.
Big Rock, we also mean high
That's what
leverage
that
learning
means,
target.
got it.
I like what Visai, I like what Visai said, I'm going back on what I said, I thought about it. Cause like, when I think back to Monday, what Beth said, our high leverage learning targets, those are the ones we're gonna be intentional all year.
Right, that's the
about
one you're
bringing
doing the
back
go time with.
every, whenever we talk about integers, what is the thing that we're gonna hit every time? We're gonna hit absolute value and opposites, we're gonna hit the concrete models, but when we spiral this later in the year, to me, they need to know 6-3D.
And you can tie
Well, they're
in
gonna need to know it
others.
to get into, going into Cooper and everything. That's gonna be one of the major foundations that they're gonna go.
Well, this will go into our other units, so it's like equations, this is
And
gonna tie
operation-
in.
Order of operations. and
As
all
we
that.
know that.
Mhm. Which I think, just to play devil's advocate, you could also say 6-2B is a high leverage learning target as well, because they need to know opposite for cube change opposite.
Thank you.
But
That's another one.
Well, and I kind of think of it too, like if you look at our data, clearly whatever we were doing with 6-3D that was so high, it pulled everything else up, but when you look at 6-2B, that's still the lowest percent, so I wonder if we focused also on that, if it would pull.
Wow. I
I
truly,
don't know.
and what I remember from last year, it's not the opposite, it's the absolute value. The kids forget that absolute value is the distance numbers from zero, so they see that absolute value of 8, they're thinking opposite instead of.
Mhm.
So
Is
we
it-
just need to somehow drive home
is it-
opposite and absolute value, I'm sorry.
No, I was sorry. Is absolute value big in like junior high?
Absolute value, let me think.
I know in high school it is, because they do have to do the absolute value on the linear.
I didn't do a
on the-
whole lot with it.
Because junior high is the next step. So
I didn't do a whole lot with it in 8th grade.
Yeah.
So
I just
you-
know in high school they do grab
If-
absolute value.
Yeah, in high school, yes, but in middle school, I didn't do a whole lot with it. I did more with like equations or huge.
So,
Like that's something that we need to really focus on.
okay. So like 6-3D.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Just trying to get your
I'm good either way.
So 6-3D.
Because 630 leads into one, like she said, because, you know, if you do integers, we can do equations.
Yeah.
So just one of them.
Just one, so 6-3D on that next page.
Check.
So the verb was add, subtract, multiply, divide.
Integers.
Alright, so now identify the concept.
Could be
Operations with integers.
Yeah,
Can you just
I
say
think
that?
this one is kind of,
Pretty clear.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
honestly, the skill on this one's the same too. The skill would be
add, subtract, multiply, and divide.
I think
Just to order
I think we
Bob's.
asked this Daisy last year, but technically speaking, they only have to add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers, right? It's not like negative decimals and negative.
I don't think there's any rational numbers with
That's-
that. I think,
that's-
I think if you go back and look on the T's, it says positive
Yeah.
rational numbers.
I'll look really quick here, but
I'm pretty sure.
I think we did ask that last year, didn't we?
We did,
Uh-huh.
because I'm pretty sure on the district there was a question. on it.
Last year, did it say that here? Like last year, did it say with positive rational?
It does on 6-3, 6-3 said that.
and it says
Oh, it
rational
does.
numbers.
So I,
Assume it's gonna be.
so I'm assuming
But
there's
it
splits.
says, what does it say? If two rationals have the same sign, the product of the quotient is positive. Two rational numbers, but it doesn't specifically state like it would normally fractions and decimals.
Nice.
I think fractions decimals would be included in rational, but I don't know.
No, yeah.
Fractions and decimals are rational.
That's what,
But
that's what I'm
it-
thinking.
normally in the specificity
Okay,
of
does
the
it say-
IFD, it would
okay.
specifically state.
Okay, that's what you're talking about.
But I
okay.
don't see it in this one. It just says integers.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Even in the examples, I guess it doesn't really have.
Which would springboard if you're going to bring in.
Just to get them to a higher level.
Yeah, regs if you could. But,
I like your differentiate, get your higher kids.
Especially your kids should be able to do it, you would think.
Yeah. So the context, how it's used.
Say like order of ops,
That's
that
what I
kind of
was
stuff.
thinking,
So
like
order of
applied to
operations.
order of operations.
Yeah, I like personal financial
And you could
literacy
say
too.
equations, PFL, well,
Yeah, because the word problems are all really kind of
Like bank
Debit.
statements,
Debit,
withdrawal,
debit,
and
withdrawal.
deposit.
Yeah.
uh-huh.
So financial literacy.
It's a lot of real world situations, like football and golf.
Par.
I love that game where you put. It is, yes, to the truth.
hot air balloon.
Yes.
Too bad this
Go outside.
is-
Anything else y'all can think for context?
Men,
All right, so the academic language, integers for sure.
That's the test.
Opposite, absolute value.
Rational whole integer.
That's like testing language, so I'd put, is that where we put?
academic language. Or we put
Key vocab is integer specific. Academic language is like what they could see on tests, right?
So like
Yeah.
evaluate.
Absolute
Yes.
value, integer, absolute value.
Quotient. If that also.
product.
You said one, I feel like that.
FAR,
Mhm.
the testing.
We say
Just harming.
evaluate,
Like
Yes.
0.
0.
and then solve solution.
How about below sea level, or sorry, sea level?
Yeah, I think that's good.
That's why I just said sea level, because it'll have above and below,
So let's see.
or just do both.
Absolute value, integer, opposite number. That's all new to grade level according to Lead Forward.
This will be academic.
And then it says previously introduced difference, dividend, division, divisor, factor, product, quotient, sum. And that's just according to the Lead Forward document.
Show factors.
Document, but all right, key vocab. There's a ton in this unit.
Ascend, descend. What sticks out right away?
Above and below.
Elevate.
How you spell D-E?
D,
Is it S? Okay.
C.
S-E-N-D?
Oh,
Okay.
it does in this.
Gain, loss. I'm trying to think back to my number line.
Deposit, right?
Yep.
Deposit,
Withdrawal.
withdrawal,
Credit, debit.
credit, debit, gain, loss.
The credit could go, in my mind, credit's kind of
Sorry.
confusing because you can be credited to your account, but a
Use
credit
a credit
card
card,
takes
yeah.
money away.
So it could be academic, is that right?
Yeah, a lot of times they go kind of hand in hand, especially on this team.
True. Sea level, this has that been.
You got par. I think in this case,
I'll add negative up here.
it's funny,
Hmm.
no, it's about thinking credit, debit's the same thing.
Should add it up
We could say even
Sounds
number
like
line
stupid.
is it academic.
I said credit,
Yeah.
It's been
get credit,
tested.
you get it, and I was like, debit,
Goes on.
wait a minute, you get the same thing, I thought you were gonna be opposites, because debit cards, you get money.
These are they just called intergerships? I mean, it hasn't been tested, but technically it could be.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, number line and integer.
I'd put number one too, yeah.
That we did.
I don't know why, but even though this unit's hard for them to understand, I actually like teaching it.
Sick, that's what we were
I did
saying.
too.
Mhm.
It's fun.
It's very real world.
It is
I
very
enjoyed
cool.
when I taught it at the end of 5th grade. And they really liked it. Like, I think they felt more grown up.
Yeah.
We talked some fun activity with them. Sorry, that's resource, but.
Any other key vocab words?
I'm not gonna try it. Honestly, I think
God.
that's.
Could you say like positive, negative?
You could.
But that's kind
I
of.
put number.
What you got up there?
Oh, really? How the
But-
follow?
So expected rigor would be how it was tested on the star.
Which would be order of ops. PFL, personal financial literacy.
Also tables. Tables and.
Number lines.
Models.
I know one thing that they do a lot is with adding, they don't ever test just adding two numbers. It's always
Multiple.
from a table or like they'll have to
That's
add 4 or
multiple
5
numbers,
numbers.
yeah.
Well, and then all 3 questions that have been tested have the word expression in them. So expression, model is another one. Did we say, yeah, we said number line. Expression, model. And that's value was another one, like a value of negative 22.
The probably models.
What else? Sum was tested on a couple.
I guess number lines are not really models, were they?
I mean, mean, yeah, because if you look, the two ways it's been tested is order box and from a table or a
Cards,
list.
yeah. Well, that's kind of like a table, the cards there.
Yeah. This unit's majorly just building and not like stuff.
That was stressful.
Good. Making progress.
Getting better each time.
I'm getting the big picture.
We just got to talk about these two favorite units.
These sound like fun. These sound like y'all, and y'all obviously did a great job with them. Wow, so y'all know what to do.
You can tell what one we like. We'll get this
So now, anything else y'all can think of? So
Not a
now
lot
it's
of
time to
it.
look at the common assessment.
Okay, I'll pull this.
Get common.
Not already did.
The little signs like.
Got Mr.
what's it
Chiropractor over here.
Don't ever pop your own bones in a chiropractic office. They will jump on your case.
Pop all the
Sorry,
knuckles.
I'm going too slow getting in this office.
Okay, we had two different parts for each of them last year, so they were.
That's last year's star question.
Yeah, straight from Star. From a couple of years ago.
Kind of, oh.
How many questions was it?
Five.
That's
Oh, that's
But
not.
we,
I think five
we
is-
included models, obviously, but.
Actually.
See,
I think that's
Christine,
fine.
can we go back to the model number one? That's
Yeah.
what we mean when it's adding or subtracting.
Oh, gotcha.
So do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So like if you look at C, it's adding, it's like 3 minus
Right.
7.
So it's straight lines. So you know it's gonna be adding and subtracting. That's good to know.
Common
That is good.
misconception.
Good.
And that's a great thing to be able to tell them.
He's lying.
Two is addition.
I like it because it's a
All words.
number, it's a griddable too for.
And it's all words.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get them
Now
to
that one's
practice grading.
similar to a star-like question.
It is a star.
Number one.
It is a star
We took
question.
it.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
the
you took
literal
it from
one.
star? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like how it
Three.
has
I
both
like what, I don't want to get into how to teach it, but I like what BSI says,
Sometimes
because if you just solve negative 4 plus 5,
Yeah.
you know
You
the
know where it
answer.
should
Answer,
end.
'cause it has to end at 1. I do like what you said.
I was almost gonna say we need to add, we need to add maybe like a 2017, but I think that should go, if we do add something like that, it should go to multiply and divide, like if we keep them
Mhm.
separate.
Yeah.
Because then we can still test the adding and subtracting through it.
4, I remember that being a difficult one last year, but I thought it was a good one,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of them
Because
just
it's
do five.
subtraction, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
because the key word is difference. So.
And
And
a
if
lot
we have
of them
to
do
draw that picture.
585 minus.
And that would be
28.
good if they drew the picture.
Well, it goes with what you were saying about absolute value too, because they have to find that positive distance.
Internships.
I like it.
So do we want to change anything, add anything, replace, or are we all good with this comment?
Do we want to do, I like it, do we want to keep it 2 and do 1 adding and subtracting and 1 multiplying by?
I think so.
I think so.
That makes sense.
That's what I thought too. Just check.
I like it.
So thumbs up for addition, subtraction.
All I'm gonna say is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It worked for us last year, let's keep the ball rolling.
Part 2. Oh, do we want to look at, or no, we have which of these following is not equivalent to negative 12?
I like that one, because that's kind of similar.
One we just saw star tested with the 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, so it'd be a good.
Different way to test it, but the same yeah.
I'm gonna have to study this unit, y'all.
And this one, I remember number 1 was the one that was, for my class, was mostly
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's a lot, it's 4
Yeah.
questions in one.
They, you know, they get lazy and they just do the first one. Oh, there you go.
Do we need to add any would now be a good time to like maybe just change one of the answer choices to a multi-step, or is that too much?
So I guess we need to keep in mind for this comment, are we wanting to see them master it, or are we wanting to know their basic, if they
This
got
is
the
the
basic
beginning.
skill?
So I would say wait
Yeah,
until order of ops, then you could throw it in.
I think so. What are we trying to test here? We're
Not
trying-
all that.
Exactly. I do think we need to add one of those number line,
So add a number like question.
yeah.
Mm.
But I do like number 3 just because it's readable with the negative. Get them used to bubbling in negative.
It says determine the
That's a hard one.
mean. Do we want to
Which
change that and put average?
Where?
I like that. I like
Three.
3.
instead of mean, put average.
I'll put determine the
I
mean.
think it's already did.
Oh, no, you're fine.
That's the first thing I was thinking.
Yeah, I think we should change it to
Means it's
average.
confusing because for
Well, what if I
me-
kept mean and then put
What if
average?
In parentheses, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just read it.
I actually.
Number 4 was another one that was missed a lot.
Are y'all good with that on 3? If I change, it's where it says determine the mean elevation change per minute after the word mean, if I put average in parentheses. Or do you want me to just put average?
Change per minute.
Yeah.
Might as well throw in the vocab.
I would say parentheses
Yeah.
average.
Me
Because
too.
even some of my kids might still be, I don't know what average is.
Yeah.
But if they say, yeah.
So it's kind of,
So they see both words, that maybe one will remember.
That way they're starting to get the vocab before we actually do
I
it.
like that. Which has the least value?
I like that question.
I like
Me
that
too.
question because that goes back to
Absolutely.
comparing and the
So they'd have to work it all out.
Comparing
it's
in order
just a
6
small
2Ds.
60, which is from the previous unit. So
A
it's
lot
kind
of them are gonna.
Yeah.
Well,
Miss this
that'll,
one.
that'll be misconceptions and resources, but a lot of them are gonna put it.
Because they're both negative.
And that'd be 63, which would be the biggest number of any of them multiplied,
Mm-hmm.
but it technically would be positive.
Oh, that's tough.
Mhm. So I think, to
I think we
Ike's
should
point,
switch
we
it
should
up.
switch out number 5 with the number line.
I agree.
We can use
Yeah.
either 2015 or 2014.
I agree.
Which one do y'all want to use? 15 or 14?
I kind of like 2015 better. I don't like the arrows on the 2014 for some reason.
See, and I like 2014's arrows better.
The difference
Well, I like it
would
because
be,
it's showing -4, -4, -4, so you can see 3 groups of -4.
I think if we use 2015, we should make the arrows a little bit bigger because I think our students weren't sure as to what way it was going last year.
that's a good point, because I can't see them.
I can't see.
That's true, I can't see those.
So if we use 15,
Let's just use 14.
Let's just use 14, it's already done.
I was about to say because that snip clip tool doesn't make it bigger.
no, you'd have to like add arrows on top
Yeah.
of it.
Draw.
So I'm saying that would be
Too much
easier to
work.
stick
That's good.
14.
But we could, well, that number line on 14 is not as much as 15. I was gonna say we could put, was it -5, but I don't think they would need it for.
I think they'll be
14's number
okay.
line.
Okay, I'll do that.
So it'll be-
With.
So take the number line out of
20.
15 and use the arrows on 14.
Yeah, no.
Just looks really got this.
Switch number 5 with number 12
Because you're.
from 2014.
Uh-huh.
Because we're going back number 5.
So you have to stop at a 5 and 4. You started.
And there's 4 groups, 1, 2, 3. Pretty sure. So is 2014 the answer G?
It's very
Yeah,
answer sheet.
Yes, it is, because there's 4 groups of -5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you say that. I wouldn't have a clue how to teach that.
Yeah.
y'all.
Always.
Because you can have a negative number of
You
groups.
can't have a negative group,
Okay.
yeah.
You can't have a negative
And
number
when we
of
teach it,
groups.
the first
we need to
number
say
we
is
always
like-
say is
can you
groups,
add
so
that to the
4
question?
groups of
Say like,
-5.
yeah,
So
basically
your
Physical
groups
groups
can never
of-
be negative?
Well, and I'm gonna tell you right now,
Yeah.
anytime it's a multiple, if it's a number line, it's always gonna have a positive number with it, because you can't group negative numbers on that, so.
You have a negative number of groups.
Wrap my head around that, okay.
Did you already change it?
Jeez.
Want me to do that while you go on?
Well, I made a note, I can do it. I'll get it.
Sure.
Yeah.
'Cause I can put it in right now.
I mean, if you want,
Something I can do.
Chris is.
I don't like to do
Hey,
it.
man, Chris will do this.
Sorry. I get judged.
No, I'm OCD.
You don't want me to just to snip clip it and then put
No,
it
because I saw how you were about to snip up all the answer choices too.
So he does not want you
That's
doing
why
it.
that's why I'm waiting. Okay. So we're good. 5 questions on each of them?
Yeah, and not only that, but 5 and 3 kind of correlate with each other, with the average
Mhm.
anyway, so.
Alright. Back to.
If anyone wants to do. It's really early, but I feel the need for.
Breaking it out early on.
I've put words in already.
Oh, they're smart.
So, to go back to the common really quick, since we have 5 questions, what do we want to set approaches, meets, and masters?
Wait.
There's 5.
We have 5 questions.
I think
Could we do 60, 80, 100? That'd be saying master, and they'd have to get all correct.
I was thinking master 8, they can miss one.
I want to miss one, so 80
40,
be
60,
master.
80.
40, 60, 80, approaches, meets, and levels, yeah.
I don't want to make it too low though.
That's why I was like 40 sounded still low.
Because like
And
we
truthfully,
said,
if we're at 80% already, I think 100 should be the max, because we want to push that more, we need to probably,
Because we want growth from
yeah.
last year.
So I think 80 would be our needs, I like that.
like you said, this is the first time we're doing it, so we realize there's not going to be like 70% of the kids get 100 on it.
No,
It's just not going to happen.
So 60, 80, 100
Okay.
that's fine.
for our comments. Because then if they even miss one, you still know honestly they kind of mastered it.
Yeah.
So when you play your groups.
So y'all are okay with, like, if they get a 60, would y'all look at that as okay?
Pretty good for the first.
For the first time, yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright.
Honestly, if they got a 60, that would be the group that I meet with the most because they already kind of know it.
Yeah.
Right.
But they just need a little clarification, kind of.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just a little extra more practice, give them a little
Yeah. Gotcha.
kick in the pants.
Jeffrey.
But
It's misconceptions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't in anyone.
We did this.
a boost, a kick in the pants is called.
We just did this.
Oh. It's not better.
Yes, I'm going to clarify on the tape, just because you're freaking out, because I said kick in the pants.
Do we want to, we need to talk about the, is that what we just did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I just came up with a comment.
But that's talking about being common.
Do consensus on mastery, which we did.
Is this the part where we need to come up with consensus on, well, it's not how to do it, because that would be our race.
I'm just looking at our other one. We did, students are able to follow steps in order to convert FDP, accurately use place value, and identify benchmark FDP.
So students can accurately show
So-
steps to subtract, multiply, divide.
Because I think this one's pretty straightforward. So mastery would be they know how to do the operations of integers, which would Vicky says fluently. What do y'all think? Am I wrong?
No.
I agree. Let's go with it. The biggest misconception I saw last year was kids subtracting integers.
I
Or
would
doing
say-
keep change opposite on the adding, the rewriting the addition.
Or just like the wrong sign. I'd say like for multiplying, dividing, just,
Yeah,
Do
because
you
I
know
had a
what
lot
I'm
that would ask, I know what you're saying, like making a negative subtraction when it's multiplying or something.
or doing like negative times a negative, and they would say a negative answer.
Or no, they're doing, if they see 4, they get the multiplication rules
They need negative 4
mixed up with the
negative
addition
2.
rules.
So maybe.
So same signs add, right? But when they have same signs, they're making it positive.
with absolute value, they may think absolute value is the opposite
Mhm.
rather than the distance away.
Oh, that is
That's
such a big one.
Yep. Like I said, once again, that goes back to our score. I think that's why that one's so low, because they see the absolute.
So absolute value is opposite, not distance away.
Mine last year, like if it was subtracting a negative, I've never understood this.